The option of the walkout crystallized in early January. As we began to say, okay, we have issued a set of demands. We have set a deadline for response. What will we do if we do not receive a response that we believe to be sufficient?
I remember very clearly having a conversation with a good friend who was Caucasian, and I said, I want to talk to you later today. And I don't remember why I wanted to talk to her, but she was so relieved. And I said, well, why? She says, I thought you were going to ask me about joining my sorority. And I know that we have, from a national perspective, a clause that doesn't permit African American students.
I was told that one of the things that happened in that prior year, in '68, that a black townsperson, young black man, was shot and killed in the student union.
One fraternity in particular thought it was funny throwing balloons full of urine out one of the windows as some of us passed by. It was those kind of things. So we said, you know what? I kind of had enough.
And just sitting on her bed and with a legal pad, just kind of jotting down notes. Like I said, the whole thing of a list of demands was not something that was just unique to the situation at Wittenberg. Across the country, the same thing was happening at, Columbia, Harvard, other schools, and young people were very much doing the same thing.
What are we really concerned about here at Wittenberg as concerned black students? And that's what the demands reflected. After the news of CBS has presented demands, what are those black students doing? Who do they think they are? Can't they see how wonderful they have it here? What in the world is wrong with this wonderful utopian place? We've treated them so wonderfully. They have advantages that so many other black students across the country and in America just don't have. How insulting of them. So they felt that we were being indignant and unappreciative, and they would show that disgruntlement very demonstratively on facial features, tone of voice, shirking. Those who used to talk to you in class would stop talking. Some in the dormitory didn't want to be in the bathroom with you anymore, didn't want to. Again, small numbers, but enough to get your attention to say, oh my God, well, what about the rest of the ones who aren't as demonstrative as this? How widespread and pervasive is this? What kind of drama did we really unleash here? You just didn't know the full extent of it, but you saw it. But it never was aggressive or intimidating, or let alone, threatening in any kind of way, but just this look of disdain and how could you say these things about us? What is wrong with you?
But what we did decide upon is that we would, en masse, leave the university. So we decided upon that. To put into place the logistics to make all of that happen. And again, the thing to remember in all of this is that having issued the set of demands, we then have to get the response of the university. We have to decide, is this suitable? Is it appropriate? We have to decide how to bring things together. How do we communicate, again, in pre-cell phone eras? How do we communicate with one another? And how do we plan something like this?
There was a lot of concern that, if for those who wouldn't walk out, what would they do? How would they act? What would they say? There was a big issue, it was basketball season, so when it was basketball players, if they don't go, does that, weaken our position and things like that? And so there was a lot of concern with the coaches and staff and whatnot.
I participated in the walkout. We met at Recitation Hall with our luggage, and we walked across from Recitation Hall to the Student Union, where cars from had been arranged. Again, I had nothing to do with the actual arrangement of who was bringing cars, what kind of transport we were going to be using. And we loaded into a whole string of cars and were transported to Yellow Springs, where we were warmly received and welcomed by Black students at Antioch. They couldn't have been more accommodating and nice.
Well, when I came to campus in 1971, I had the opportunity to meet students who had participated in the walkout in 1969, specifically two men who became to be like my brothers, Peter Davis and Ken Scott. And from the very beginning, I had long conversations with both of them. I mean, there were other students here also, but those two in particular. And so they had shared with me, what had happened. I ended up being a history major here, and so certainly with some of my professors, I absolutely knew that Wittenberg, I believe, understood what had happened, what was still happening in the civil rights movement, and was receptive to this idea that we have to have change. We must have change.
The importance of elevating the university's role as a catalyst and engine of change within a greater community around these questions of pervasive structural inequality. So there's quite a bit to do, quite a bit.